There we go.
Yay!
Welcome to the second edition of the Adventurers Society Report on the 8th, August 14th, 2014. I am Mr. Proper, Twitch.tv streamer, and if I could eat only one thing for the rest of my life, it would be a nutritious supplement that met all my daily meat needs. If I could eat two things, the second would be gummy bears. Also, I use chopsticks.
You what?
I use chopsticks.
Okay. I'm Cola Queen, a moderator for Sir Proper on Twitch TV. And if I could eat only one thing, it would be mangoes. Or possibly jelly beans. But definitely mango cola flavored jelly beans would probably be the best thing I could eat. Definitely.
That's a very specific flavor of jelly bean.
I know.
Okay, so we're live on Google Plus at Sir Proper and also on twitch.tv/Sir Proper. And the show will be posted on youtube.com/Sir Proper Gent. Today we're talking about Robin Williams, DayZ on the PS4, and the co-op experience. So head on over to the twitch.tv Sir Proper or search for Sir Proper on your Twitch app. So, speaking of gaming, I learned something new today, which not only shocked me, but saddened me. Just recently, on August 11th, 2014, we lost a valuable member of our gaming community. The thing I learned wasn't his death, but that we lost a veritable hero of the gaming community. What I'm talking about is Robin Williams. I was saddened to learn all too late that a public figure who is devoted to gaming that didn't start from the games industry left us. I don't know about you, but this was a bit of a shock to me. There has been a couple of movements to get him immortalized into both WoW and Zelda. The games community has just come out in droves in support of this larger-than-life icon. Most notably, we have in WoW, they're trying to get him at the World's End Tavern, and they also want him to say some of his jokes, kind of immortalize his humor. The other one is there's been a petition to get him represented in an upcoming Zelda game, which I don't know if that'll happen, but he did do a Zelda commercial for Nintendo.
Oh, did he? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he's actually talking to his daughter, which he named Zelda, by the way. His daughter is named Zelda after the princess. And the tagline at the end when his daughter's like, "Dad, are you getting me confused with a princess?" And he goes, "I don't know. You're both pretty magical." So.
Aww.
Yeah, no, I was pretty blown away by. I watched the ad earlier. So that brings me to the topic of games in the public eye and how we are relating to the rest of the world as a gaming community. So with Robin Williams, one of the most interesting things, one of the things that kind of took me back as I was reading this article was that he represented games, not as something that, oh, it's my dirty little secret, or it's just this hobby that I play on the side. No, he was into games. Of course, he did notably say that it was his online cocaine, is what he referred to online games as. So, and yes, he did have drug problems. So that what does that mean? But he didn't talk about them as they were a dirty little secret. In fact, he had a Reddit Ask Me Anything Q&A, and he talked about the games that he wanted to play and the games that he was playing.
Yeah.
Now, as a public figure, he didn't get the opportunity to play a ton online because, hounding fans and whatnot. But this really goes to bring up the question, what are we as a gaming community presenting? Why do public figures so often go, "It's my dirty little secret"? And why do people so quickly trivialize games in the gaming community? Do you have any thoughts on that, Cola?
I think, part of the trivialization or the downplaying has to do with the perception that games are for kids. Or gaming is only for nerds, quote unquote, or geeks, quote unquote. And if you're like a hot Hollywood star, you don't want to be seen as someone who spends time gaming. Um, but it also depends on where you are, because there's lots of people like in music who are not ashamed to say that they play games, because it actually in some weird way gives them some cool credibility, some street cred amongst their fans. But
Right.
if you're someone who perhaps I don't know, does more kind of like teeny bopper films, or I don't know, you know, romantic comedies, gaming is not really what your fans are looking for.
Yeah, but just is it because it's so simply that, like, if I somehow associate with games, that's what I'm about? I mean, what causes that kind of knee-jerk reaction? I mean, sure, they're not necessarily there for the gaming, but you know, how many people are playing video games? It's millions of players on WoW, even more on League of Legends, and that's just, the two most popular. Why
Yeah.
is it still that you can't just be like, oh, I really enjoy gaming?
I don't know, because I mean, I'm never ashamed to admit, as a grown adult woman with a job and a husband, that I play games. And but people do look at me weirdly sometimes when I'm not amongst people who share my interests. You do get those kind of looks, like there's something wrong with that, or something odd about that, or you should be into running around in doing sports or whatever, instead of
Or going to the
sitting at
club?
home. Yeah, going to the club. It's like, but hey, I did clubbing. Been there, done that too. So someone who
I
plays games is not necessarily someone who just lives in their basement and plays games and does nothing else. I do a lot of other things in my life besides
Mhm.
play games.
Well, I know for me, one of the difficulties I've been facing is as I've been trying to basically make video games a job for me.
Mm.
Between streaming and podcasts and stuff like that, talking to anyone that about, like, oh, so what do you do for a living? It's like, oh, well, I'm an entertainer of sorts, because the first time I tell it, oh, I stream video games, and they're like,
Say
oh,
what?
you play video games? Oh, is there money in that?
Yeah.
And I look at politicians, and you have a new politician that's starting out, and they're starting on a grassroots campaign. You go, oh yeah, I'm in politics. They're like, is there any money at that? Well, not at the moment, but it's like the two concepts are so strange. Even though we've had the success and advent of YouTube and Twitch TV, I still find that I'm explaining to people what I actually do.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of gaming communities, as it were, Cola Queen, I heard somewhere that you were into DayZ before it even became a standalone game. What are your thoughts on where it started and where it's going as it prepares to join the PS4 lineup?
Um, right. Well, so hopefully people out there listening know what DayZ is. If not, please don't think we're talking about DayZ edition of Day Zero edition of Call of Duty. The Z in Day Z stands for zombie. And it started out as a mod for Arma 2, which is a game from Bohemia Interactive, which is a multiplayer, essentially military game.
Well, it's a
Um,
very realistic shooter from
yeah,
everything
it's
I've
very,
gathered.
yeah, exactly. Um, and the DayZ mod sort of takes the player out of that reality and puts them into what is supposed to be a zombie survival. But actually, in DayZ, the zombies are not really the focus of the game. They aren't your main adversary. They're really more of an annoyance. The main objective is to gather resources and try really hard not to die at the hand of the other players. It's pure PvP. And depending on which server or edition of the mod, because there's actually several different versions, and who might also be in the game with you, you may even end up with some really interesting and fun RP, which I've seen quite a bit of on Twitch. And I actually first started watching DayZ playthroughs or playing on YouTube when I first heard about it, and then that as what actually led me to start watching Twitch. I was sort of only vaguely aware of Twitch as a thing, and then I went there to watch people play DayZ, and that was about a year and a half ago. Um, and that's where I discovered there's a lot more to DayZ than you think. There's a lot of different versions. There's a lot of different ways to play the game. There's a variety of players with different styles. And that actually makes it one of the more versatile and compelling multiplayer games to watch as a viewer. And I think it's one of the reasons why people keep playing it on Twitch. DayZ has a massive fan base. It's extremely popular on Twitch. And this year, a standalone version came out. So that means an actual just DayZ standalone version. So you don't have to go and get Arma 2 in order to get the mod and then play it, which is really good for a lot of people, because when I wanted to play DayZ, you could only do it that way. So you had to get Arma 2, and you had to get a bunch of the DLC, and then you had to install the mods, and you had to do a lot of other things. You have to connect to servers, and like I found it really difficult as a newbie, like trying to even get a game going. And actually, when I started playing, because it's on the PC, and you can't use an emulator for your console controller with it. I just found it really hard, and I'm not that dedicated. I'm not really a PC gamer anymore. It's been years. I've had a console for like, probably a decade, so I just don't play those kind of games anymore. But anyway, so so this year's standalone came out.
Discretions aside.
Yeah, well, I digress. But this year, so Gamescom was just this week, and a lot of announcements. But one of the announcements was that PlayStation is going to have its own version of DayZ on PS4. And so this is quite exciting if you're a DayZ fan, but you also like consoles and you like gaming on consoles like me. It's like, wow, I'm finally going to get to play DayZ with a console and my console controller, and I don't have to be an idiot trying to remember all the keybinds and stuff like that on the PC. So that really interested me. So I started looking into it a bit further, but one of the articles that I found on it was on GameSpot. They announced that it was exclusively on PS, but this article says that it's probably not going to be exclusive.
Now, I hadn't heard that it was going to be exclusive. I know they mentioned that they're putting out an edition, but from everything that there was another article that I believe I read off of your Twitter that said that it's not exclusive to any console, if I remember the article.
Right, that's probably the article I'm talking about, because I think I retweeted it. So the guy who's like the main developer, Dean Rocket Hall, I think he had responded to somebody's comments on Twitter saying, actually we're not trying to be exclusive. But I don't know, because I didn't see the announcement for PS4, so the impression I got was that they made it seem like it was exclusive, but he was saying they were actually in talks with Microsoft as well.
Well, hold on. Let me interrupt you there. I actually watched the GamesCon footage live, the PlayStation segment, and he never said anything about exclusivity. He just said, as a big announcement, something that we're specifically doing is bringing DayZ to the PlayStation. Never saying only on the PlayStation, and even the main Sony guy, I can't remember his name right now, didn't say anything about DayZ being exclusive to PlayStation, which he went to great lengths for just about every other PlayStation reveal. So, as far as I understand, it's just maybe that they were going with the PS4 first, but I have no doubts that it's coming to the Xbox.
Yeah, well, that's what the article I'm talking about was kind of saying, is that they're saying it's not exclusive. So I think a lot of people got the idea that it was exclusive, even though that wasn't said.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, that's also good news because I mean, like, I currently have an Xbox, so I prefer if it came out on Xbox if it's going to come out. Um,
Just so you know, they weren't talking about Xbox 360 because the
oh
Xbox One and the PS4 use the 64-bit architecture, which means that it's possible to do more
yeah, no, I know.
computer-related. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that someone who has an
Yeah.
Xbox might be more likely to get a next gen Xbox.
I'm just saying you only have a 360.
Yes, I know. Okay, anyway, forget that. Let's not get into a console uh, argument. So the point is that they announced that it was going to come out on PS,
Yeah.
but actually, I'm not even sure if it's actually in development yet because the article suggested that it's not in development yet and that it would actually take them a whole another year to build the game.
Yeah, that
Um,
makes sense.
So, I mean, they announced it, but there's no date release or any kind of idea about when that might be. So it may not be. It may not be for another year. It may not be for another 2 years.
Who
The
knows?
standalone. The standalone is still in development. It's not even finished. It's an alpha at the moment. Um,
I thought it was considered just early release. I didn't think it was either alpha or beta at this point, but
well, it says alpha early release.
oh,
But when
okay.
you go on Steam, if you go on Steam to download it, it says something like, you know, if you want to download this, you're basically agreeing to help us with this game.
Well, I'm looking up that right now. Easy on Steam because that's
Unless that's changed recently.
I don't know. I'm looking.
Um, yeah, so anyway, so possibly DayZ on PS4 next year sometime, and perhaps in the future on
Okay,
Xbox
it is
One.
alpha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, right, so enough about DayZ.
Yeah.
Which is an example of a great multiplayer game, as I said earlier. But, sir, why don't you tell us about your experiences with co-op and what you like and what you don't like about that type of gaming?
Well, co-op. As we were talking earlier, co-op and the experiences that are available through cooperation, so to speak, because that's really,
Yeah.
cooperative play. Some of my best experiences with gaming have been, in fact, co-op. Some of the worst were that I had great games to play and no one to play them with. I mean, back in the early days of multiplayer when it was local, like I would have a new game, Armored Core, and they would have either cooperative or competitive multiplayer locally. And I could not for the life of me get my brother to play with me because he was tired of me blowing him up repeatedly. My brother was not as much into games, but that's actually why I ended up getting into competitive gaming as a way to have an interactive experience. It was much easier to join into competitive gaming than cooperative gaming because finding someone cooperative usually had to have a copy of the game, whether it was local or whatnot. But competitive gaming quite quickly became something that you could do online back in the days of like Counter Strike. But that got frustrating. So much time tense, a bad team, or just having a bad game could seriously, I'd find ruin my day. I'd be
Mm.
upset, frequently even hostile at times. And now I know they say it's just a game, and I should have taken it easy. Don't worry about it. The problem I have with that is that whatever I do it seriously. If I'm going to invest my time into something, I want it to mean something. That seems ridiculous to some for video games, I know. But if the only reason you are engaging in gaming is to lose yourself, there are plenty of other ways to do that. So the question then becomes, what is so appealing about video games that we want to lose ourselves in them? Well, for me, from what I've experienced in my 32 odd years, is books, movies, and other entertainment mediums have shown us that it is a world to explore and new experiences to have. That right there, I think, is the key: new experiences. when people seriously start putting down for management experience, this is interesting. An application. I heard stories about this. Managing a 40-man raiding team and running a 150 member guild and getting hired because of those experiences, that game has changed.
Yeah.
The military uses gaming to help train soldiers. Games are something we do repetitively. Is it really any wonder that we're learning something from it? Now, I wouldn't say all experiences in gaming relate to life, or we might all be homicidal maniacs. Cola hasn't gone out and killed anyone or started hoarding food because she played
That you
DayZ.
know of.
That I know of. She does live in UK. Crap could be hitting the fan already. But something in those actions we are repeating are changing us. Which really brings me to cooperational experience. I like that idea. Co-operational experiences. We are operating alongside other people, and we're sharing those experiences. If you're repeatedly practicing working together as a team to overcome objectives, how is that going to affect the real you? What can we possibly gain? Is it communication skills, team trust, delegation, role execution? I can tell you in my own life, after playing many, and I mean many co-op games, I can tell you there is an intrinsic value in working together, whether in a game or in the real world. So I suggest going out, finding a buddy, and clearing a dungeon, or maybe a raid, or just multiplayer team deathmatch. You know, whatever your kids are doing these days.
But can I ask, I mean, do you think, in a weird way, like being on Twitch and being a streamer on Twitch, so you're playing the game,
Yeah.
and whether you're playing a solo game or you're playing a multiplayer, because people are coming into your channel to watch and chat, that in a weird way is its own kind of co-op. Because a lot of times people come in, like yesterday, someone came in and you were playing
Dark
Souls. Yeah, and they not only came to the chat and you were interacting with them about the game, they were then able to join you in the game, which creates this whole other type of co-op experience.
Well, and I think that's the social interaction. I mean, one of the absolute important functions of life is social interaction. A, a, a baby will literally die if they do not receive human contact. You know, generally speaking, we think of that as the mother, but even human contact at all.
Yeah.
Animals starved of contact also end up suffering horribly. So there's something about the social experience that I think also betters us. And I know, at least in my channel, the education, as Cola says, is real. Because much like the podcast, we definitely put a focus on looking at what the game is about. Why is it important? So I know that most people don't put a lot of value in this. It isn't really news, but Cola Queen does have some gaming news for us, and maybe we can find our next experiences to prepare for. I know I have been catching up on the news, but what do you have for us?
Right. So, well, the hottest topics today are Tomb Raider, which is coming out on the next gens.
Oh yeah, the Temple of Gold in Osiris, or whatever that is.
Isn't it like?
Or is it
Tomb
just
Raider? It's like her origin story or something like that. Sorry.
Oh, they're releasing that on PS4. I didn't.
Yeah. Well, I'm not
Another
sure.
remaster.
Yeah. So everyone's just talking about Twitter. I of course ignore it completely. But I thought I'd mention it. And then the other thing that's kind of hot at the moment is the playable trailer from the new Silent Hill, which I don't know when is it coming out.
I don't know.
But a lot of people on Twitch have been streaming it. So it's just it's more. I mean, they're calling it a playable trailer. It's really a demo, essentially. And you actually have to play. You have to play through it a few times to beat it. It's
really?
One of these weird kind of experiences. It kind of goes in this. I sort of watched it a while yesterday, and it goes in this weird loop where you have to kind of repeat behavior and activity to get through the puzzles and to get out the other side, where there's this quite interesting reveal, which I won't ruin for anybody, but they can go find it and download it. And I believe it is on PS because I watched it on a PS streamer's stream. So
I know they mentioned it in the Gamescom thing about the PT, the playable trailer, as it was, or playable teaser, and that it was available on the PSN store. I have not bothered yet because I've never really cared about the Silent Hill series. I know, Gamerson and all that, but it's just I've never been much for the horror genre.
If it's not your type of game, that's not your type of game.
No, because most of the time, my biggest issue with horror in general and survival horror is that they do things to arbitrarily increase difficulty. But that don't make sense. Oh, you're up against a bunch of guys and they can shoot at you all day, every day, but as soon as you kill one, they have no ammo. Magic. And I ran into that in The Last of Us, playing on the hardest difficulty in The Last of Us, is they can shoot at you literally non-stop, yet as soon as you kill them, magically all their ammo is always gone. Now, maybe more dire consequences and stuff, or that the enemies themselves couldn't shoot as much, or that they had a limited amount of ammo, might make it more worthwhile to me. But for the most part, they usually just rely on weird mechanics that aren't adhered to by the rest of the game occupants, making it very kind of like, well, that's stupid. For me, at least.
But everybody likes to prove they're hard by playing the hardest difficulty.
Grounded mode for life.
What's next? That's all the news I got.
I know. Well, the stockbrokers are apparently more reckless and manipulative than a psychopath.
Oh, yes.
University of St. Gallen study.
Yeah.
I mean, I know many of us in the gaming community have been accused of questionable moral behavior, but I'm just saying, stockbrokers, they're worse than psychopaths, So, us in gaming, we're only psychopaths. Stockbrokers are worst.
Well, the thing is, I've worked with stockbrokers, so you don't have to show me a study that says they're psychopaths. I already know it and believe it.
I feel bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a regular news item, e-cigarettes. They're not actually so healthy, and I'd like to point out the fact that it's essentially huffing, and huffing is usually looked down on. I'm not sure that it's really all that great of an idea. The problem is they're saying they're comparable to cigarettes as is, and with like lower nicotine quantities, people are often using both the e-cigarettes and regular cigarettes. So
they're even more addicted.
Yeah. So that's kind of bad. And then plus they keep there's all these additives in the e-cigarette liquid, which is apparently potentially worse for you than an actual cigarette. So
yeah. And the secondhand smoke from the cigarette, everybody thinks it's fine because it's just vapor. But
it's not.
actually, no, it contains just as much rubbish as real cigarette smoke. So
pretty much.
You're pretty much just fooling yourself with vaping.
Now, Cole, I saw on your Twitter about the Shady Minecraft. What did you find out about that?
Oh, just that I hadn't even heard about it, and then somebody, tweeted something, so I started looking at it. So there's apparently a Minecraft convention, an unofficial, I guess, kind of fan convention that this guy was setting up, and a lot of people.
Minorama?
Yeah, Minorama. Sorry.
Yeah.
And it was like $150 a ticket, which is kind of ridiculous in my opinion, for anything. I mean, I go to a lot of conventions in the UK, and I would never spend that kind of money.
Well, I mean, I could understand it for something like Comic-Con, where Stan Lee's going to be there and stuff like that.
Well, if you're talking about an official con that's launched by the company that, does the product, then okay. But this is a fan con, so everything should be on the cheap. First
Pretty
of
much.
all. So apparently about a week before the convention was supposed to launch, they announced that they were postponing it, and that more details would come, and that they would give refunds. And apparently, loads of people bought plane tickets and hotel rooms. And of course, I mean, hotel rooms you might be able to get away with canceling a week before, but plane tickets usually you can't anymore these days.
Yeah.
Um, so people
I,
are out lots of money, and then they just kind of went silent. They deleted all their accounts and their webpage and their Twitter feed,
okay,
and
I have to say the best part from the article is like apparently their last tweet before going dark was heralded to
oh, we
start
are
the
not a
tweet as
scam.
this is not a scam. Like I don't know how you feel about that, but to me that's like smells a little fishy.
Well, Sir Proper, I am the daughter of a deposed Nigerian monarch, and I have about 20 million
Euros.
Lagos dollars, whatever. I've forgotten what we call it because I'm so depressed about my
Right,
father
right.
deposed.
Just
But
give me your bank information.
if you would just give me your bank information, I could transfer my family's fortune, and I'll
Indeed.
give you, and I'm totally willing to give you like 10% of that. Just you're just a total random person on the internet, but you're gonna help me, so I'm gonna help you. It's not a
So,
scam. It is
so
not a scam.
in conclusion, I'm not a crook.
Exactly.
Well, as we hit the closing of our podcast, so that you know it's not a ridiculously long thing on YouTube.
I know someone complained it wasn't like 5 minutes. I was like, "Are you kidding me? It's a
Five
podcast."
5 minutes? Holy crap! Like Bungie puts out like a 3-hour podcast like every
I
month.
know. Like I listen to Twit, which is like 2 hours long, every
Jeez.
other day. Come on,
Oh my gosh.
guys.
Okay, so
The youth of today.
I know these youths. So our contact information, I'll start with mine, is this will be also available at youtube.com. User Sir Proper Gent at twitter.com Sir Proper Gent, because for whatever reason Sir Proper was taken for both of those. You can find images from some of my experiences on Imager, and that's just Sir the Proper. I do have a Facebook, also, miraculously Sir Proper. And one of the things is this is the Adventure Society report, and that is the name of the clan that we have on Bungie.net. And so you can find us over there at BNet, BungieNet, the Adventure Society.
Cool.
And what's your contact information other than
Um,
being on my Twitch channel?
Other than always being on your Twitch channel as Cola Queen, you can also find me on Twitter at Cola_Queen because Cola Queen was taken. I don't know why. You can also email me at queen0cola@gmail.com for whatever reason. I can't promise you I'll actually read it because I never check my email, but go for it. It might happen.
Well, my stream schedule this upcoming week, we're gonna be looking at Max Payne 3. I just got a killer discount on that on
Woohoo!
Steam, and I have played Max Payne 1. Max Payne 2 looked like rubbish, so Max Payne 3 seemed to be getting back to the roots of gritty action shooter. So I decided to go ahead and sink a few bucks into that. Probably round out with a bit more Dark Souls and Witcher.
Nice.
Maybe play some more Witcher. I don't know. That was kind of tough.
Was
Wooden
it?
animation, wooden dialogue.
It
So
was weird. I was listening the whole way, and there was like hardly any interactions as well.
I know.
It was, I don't know.
It was interesting. Although there was plenty of naughty bits, which I think I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
flag my stream mature the next time I stream that. Dear Lord.
Unexpected nudity.
I know, there was one that I was like, holy crap, this is more explicit than I was expecting. The other ones were just boobies, and this one looked like a satanic ritual on top of naked fun time. I was just like, whoa, too much, guys.
No. And there are young children on
I
Twitch,
know.
so
I know. Scary. I'm
we
gonna
have
have
to
to flag them
protect them.
mature, right?
Yeah.
So just to touch on the Adventure Society, the reason why it's the Adventure Society is it's a group dedicated to being gentlemen and lady adventurers, and that we're both dignified and exemplary. That's not to
That's
say we don't.
us.
Yeah, exactly. It's not to say we don't know how to have fun, but that we will hold most dearly to respecting others. That goes for my channel as well. Um, Helping others and exploring the world of Destiny. That's the game that I'm going to be primarily streaming coming up. Um, and the whole idea from the game Destiny is to go out and retake the wilds. So check that out. But my favorite things to say is how to be proper in adventures, engage in fisticuffs, battles, and wars. There's a fight worth fighting, listeners. Then fight it.
But be classy while you do it.
Exactly. Be classy. Top hats, monocles, the whole deal. I know I'll offend some ladies, but ladies, you gotta wear dresses. Come on, that's how ladies roll.
Oh, now, come on.
Parasols, and dresses, beating people with parasols. It's gotta happen. All right,
Actually, you
thank
can
you.
hide a nice weapon in a parasol.
I know, right? Well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. And even though we didn't have a ton of participation this time, we will look forward to having more next time.
That's right, baby.